Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our full album review of Krizz Kaliko's Kickin Screamin project. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
Hi, I'm your lady friend Bonnie.
This is the Classic Quest podcast, the show where we break down classic-ish, well, I say ish because I don't know if everyone agrees with me when I say classic albums like Krizz Kaliko's Kickin Screamin, which, in my opinion, is pretty good so far.
Yep.
And we go through them track by track. We give thoughts and opinions on every single song, and we care a lot about what y'all think. We want this to be a bit of a conversation, so feel free to comment on it. Just taking into consideration that this is part 2. We did a whole long intro bit in part 1, which we recommend you check out. It's already live on the channel. And in part 1, we got a cool comment from Mr. Jeremy Jones, and he said, "My most favorite Krizz Kaliko album." That's fantastic, because that's the one we're talking about, so it just worked out to pique his interest. Can't wait to hear what you think about this song. Can't be the only one. Well, fun fact, that's only a couple of songs away.
Yep.
So you just gotta...
You don't have to wait too long.
Or you can skip ahead, I suppose, by checking the description. Or you could watch us talk about, the next track on the project, which is Species.
Let's do it.
This is a really, really weird and interesting song where you take a boring-ass subject like I want to intercourse and mate with you and managed to flip it upside down on its head and made it like truly an experience where I can't say it. There's a whole lot of tracks that rank this interesting and memorable on this subject. But what do you think, Miss Bonnie?
I mean, it's very sexual. It definitely sounds very sexual. It comes across. It kind of like oozes like its essence or whatever. And he definitely sounds like Lil Wayne on this one. I found like even just like the kind of squeaking that kind of Wayne does, like that, like that kind of thing that he does. Like I don't know how else to describe that. Like he does that on this one. Krizz Kaliko does. So, I mean, it has a really nice flow. She's wild, and unlike anything he's ever had, he wants to go anywhere with her, and like the sex is just out of this world. She must be an alien. She must it's unlike anything he's ever had before. And then like she gets like in his mind, and like she can like end his sentences like every time, and it's sort of like weird and creepy, but like you can tell that he like loves it. He's falling for it. And she's just kind of like giggling, and like it's like a sexy kind of feeling song, but it's weird. It's very weird. So
could we say that it's strange?
It is definitely strange, yeah. So, I mean, it definitely does its job of being like whatever this is supposed to be. He clearly admires her work, and that's it. So I give this a 4.4 on 5.
I do appreciate when the work is worth admiring if we're talking about the same thing, and some things are worth writing songs about. I like how he kind of takes this woman and brings her to this like ethereal place where she's almost an alien, because like how could you be so in my head, so connected? And when somebody's in your head and you have to tell them, they just know shit, is sometimes quite interesting, as opposed to people who just don't know shit and get all awkward and whatnot. The verses are fine from a lyrical perspective, etc. It's not like it's really getting me going per se, but it's like in terms of like newness or like whatever, it's kind of generic, but in a good way. Like, you like me, I know you do, don't fight me, I'll undress you too, you can bite me, I know you like it rough, insatiable, she can't get enough. But it's more the way he sings it, the more like he delivers it with this extreme amount of like almost like he's in ecstasy, like it's drugs he's talking about. It almost kind of sounds like he's on a Molly, and everything he wants is this girl. Like I could see how maybe he was feeling it. He was almost picturing a particular instance, or he was feeling a certain way like that. But the way he floats through on the chorus, and just, what is your species? I love the way you smell. I don't know and I can't tell. Just being lost in the moment, without going too deep. it reminds me of that particular substance I just mentioned, and how in those moments when you're lost with somebody, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe you go to a park and you get on some swings and you have these magical moments where you connect and you have conversations until flowy hours, and you end in sweaty moments, and because man, that makes you sweat like crazy. Anyway, so that's kind of what this song brings me to in terms of a vibe, but not just the intercourse side, but also the emotional, full, complete connectiveness side to it as well. Cutie Don't Parade and a unique scent makes primates wild. And it's, look, this is alright lyrics and stuff. It's just corny, like in the way it's supposed to be. I know corny is not the right word. It's just the opposite's the same, but we're all attracted. Acting like you're not means just you're just acting like. I just don't think many of these guys understand how to write like compelling love poems, but the way he delivers it is so compelling that it makes up for maybe lyrics like, because if you got it, you pay the bill, you know what I'm thinking, you can see right through me. I'm like, that part's not my favorite. It kind of is mediocre writing. So like on that front, it's the only reason the song's not gonna get a 5 from me, actually, because when you get to that part where he's kind of saying lines and she's finishing it off and it's bubbly and you picture them in like a hot tub and she's a smoky environment and she's completely like the imagery this song evokes, I could fuck to this. That totally counts, because like a lot of these fucking songs I don't see myself doing, but I could see myself having some moments lying back and enjoying some vibes to a music like this. It just has a kind of spacey feel to it.
Yep.
I think it truly accomplishes the goal. I'm giving it a 4.5. It's, if anything, I'm happy I heard this one, because it's not often I actually like the more love sex songs in these projects. If you'll like watch this, it was a kudos species. I don't have a lot more to say. It was a great tune to listen to, but this one, somebody asked what I think about it, and you think about it. Now, sometimes people go, "Who cares what you think?"
Apparently, people do.
There you go. Can't be the only one that cares. See what I did there? All right, Bonnie, what do you think about, let's say, the consequences and the considerations after doing some mollies and banging up a girl? Because there is like almost a story-esque flow to this project, which as I think about it, he feels kind of isolated at the beginning of the album. And I don't think we touched on this at all in the first part. So Dancing With Myself, Cali Baby, it's kind of like, from a point where he just kept grinding from nothing, and Cali Baby kind of comes into his own. He starts to get his love and his shine. Kill Shit, he teams up with Tech, they go through it. Mayday, Done For You, Spaz, it's all, getting more into the lifestyle. Dixie Cup, now everybody's getting turned up. Life's kind of a constant party. Abu Dhabi, well, everybody knows what that means.
He's traveling to foreign places.
They gave us a whole breakdown on how it's being rich and shit. It was not my favorite metaphor. And then we moved into...
But also, that maybe they went to Abu Dhabi.
They probably did. I'm not saying that that's not true. A lot of people go to that part of the world because the paychecks are really freaking great. Why? Because slave laborers and whatnot. Just keep that in mind. So can't be so with Species, you're a famous kind of person and everything, and you start meeting... I can imagine that if you go from being...
interesting ladies.
You get a different kind of quality, like I went to the Cirque du Soleil because I'm in Montreal, so like actually it's just always freaking here, Cirque du Soleil, right? Like I know for other people it's like special. For us it's just always freaking here. And I was looking at the contortionist stretchy ladies and I was like, bodies can do that. I want, I'm just saying that is like a tier where an average Joe like me probably will never meet a contortionist who's DTF will say. Let's say I meet Tech 9 and go on tour. It's entirely possible we'll find a contortionist who's... So
he will, and he'll bring you in.
Yeah, that's what it kind of is. Anyway, so then we get to...
What you hope for.
So Species is exploring those moments where you're meeting those contortionists on Molly, and then you flow into Can't Be the Only One, which is a little bit of a consequence to that lifestyle, and a strange level of consideration, I would say, into this subject from like the consequences point of view that we normally don't get from men who frequently sleep with groupies on tour. How do you feel about it?
Well, this one is featuring Tech9. We've got him again. And this one definitely sounds more like creepy and eerie, and yet at the same time, like smooth, like very, like, I don't know, I liked it. So this one is basically about how great he is and just how it is, and like how he seems like he's having issues, like addressing the fact that he's like so successful and has made it and that people love him. So he seems to be like having some issues dealing with that. And he kind of sounds like he's trying to foreshadow his own life by saying that he might die. But like he's not the only rapper. Like I didn't really get it, and like you'll move on. Like I didn't really like.
Well, the first verse, it appears that he's knocked up somebody. Because, we live in the last days, baby. If you know my kind, I ain't got time to be living in the fast lane. I played my last game, clock's over fourth quarter. So I think what he's implying is, don't put me in that box with everybody else, per se. Cheaper to keep her. Never Mrs. Watson in a court order. Caught the low bug solder, though I know man is programmed to thank you, man, bam, wham, but not in that order, which is interesting. I don't really... Well, not that interesting, but I like the fact that he like did that thing where he kind of plays up on by flipping around the order of the particular words, but I don't fully get what he means. So bam, wham, mam, like I don't understand, the pun that he's making. So I sound a little dumb right now. Part of your heart I can never slaughter. Mrs. Mathers, I'm in love with you. Mrs. Matthews, sorry, I'm in love with your daughter. Taking her farther because now she's got a baby that she's carrying. A pitter patter, a little feet in my heartbeat. So evidently you got some chick pregnant on the way. It's kind of what I took from that.
Oh, right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I missed over all of that.
I gotta work because we gotta eat, and there's too many fishes in the sea, and I like to keep my pull to control what these devilish bitches want with me. So I guess he's looking at the consequence of, on the one hand, he's got this girl that he's into in life, and then hoes, because hoes,
all the girls want them.
And honestly, it's the kind of shit where like it sounds like whatever, but like it must be really complicated to be at that level of life where everywhere you go there's like a bunch of ladies trying to suck your dick. Like it must be complicated. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying it sounds harder than not having that problem, in my opinion. As it's greener on my side of the fence, even good when it's tense. We pray and stay together, that's our defense. See, I was wrong, but I'm right now. When dark, but it's bright now. Will I be like God's son? I can't be the only one. And so I kind of feel like in that verse, he's using it to relate to the situation that he's in and looking at those honest emotions and stuff, which I thought was just particularly fascinating because how often, again, does anybody in this kind of actually take a look at some of the more... Well, they do, but I feel like Krizz Kaliko is not trying to make this groupie fast lane life sound cool because of this other thing, and that's kind of interesting. But then Tech9 fucks me up in this whole, like, other side of it, basically doing drugs, kind of feeling a certain way. She's kind of interested in dating this particular type of guy, which he would represent, type for popping pills, pipe drills, yeah, feels right, killed till night, when then hail sky when he gone, but a brother got many things that would cover but any dream, but I love her not any means, no multiple dates, nor to the one form any team. So he's pointing out that, yeah, you might feel a way about me, and you might kind of put this category, but you're not considering the fact that everywhere I go, there's another hoe. So that's kind of going on in his life, which I get it. Tech9 has a charisma to him and a charm where I imagine that being one of the best in his field of lyrical fast rappers would get you ladies.
That'll do
when
it.
he's touring, don't nobody screw on that. Please, baby, probably taking him in threes, lady. If you think about getting it deep when he's gone, then he's crazy. Because you see him but once a year when he do his shows. But you say you love him from his head to his toes. He believe you? And he says he believed you with, like, this question, like, this making fun of the, like, because he's pointing out, like, everywhere he goes, this girl exists. And every time he comes back in town, and as a rapper, sure, maybe once a year he goes to Seattle. I don't know, maybe Seattle's close to where he lives. And, like, he sees this girl, Brittany, and every time Brittany's in town, she worships him. and then everywhere he goes, there's another version of her.
Yeah.
And again, it's just so interesting because it's almost like, in this case, he's kind of pointing out to the groupies, your expectations are kind of fucked because you kind of want to lock us down, and that's stupid. Instead, go after like a different kind of guys if that's it. But almost in a sense, being like, don't wait all year not fucking other people. Like, I can't be the only one. Changes in context now to represent, like, I can't be the only one who's fucking you. That's weird. I'm not being like that. And then Krizz Kaliko flips, like, everything in the beat flips up, and it gets fucking great.
Yeah, the beat's pretty awesome.
And I don't know, it goes from like a kind of soft, singy, like, can't be the only one, to like this hard hitting, you're almost like turning up a little bit to it. If hip hop just died this morning, I'm resurrecting it, protect the neck of it way up, which is cool because Protect the Neck is Wu-Tang back in the day, I believe. Grab the best of us effortlessly. They follow us religiously like we Baptist or Methodist, which that was actually pretty clever. I'm like, oh, we're getting into some clever shit. I holler at the epitome of having to breathe at this. I eat MCs for breakfast. And this is definitely not resurrecting hip-hop level bars, but it's great and it's fun to listen to. I like the idea of how they're gonna go and look for their pot of gold, sell 1 million records for we owe without selling our soul, but some ain't got the price for it and they pay him real nice for it. Might go down as the best that ever did it, or maybe I should quit it. I'm done and I can't be the only one. And so that's something that I can individually relate to, because like, there's a math and a science to writing pop music, and if you go ahead and do a lot of those things, you could probably get like virality on algorithmic playing. Like, you'd think this wouldn't work like this, but if you make like the right sound and you get the right engineer to like fuck your voice into the right sound, you'll get put next to guys like Juice WRLD and shit. And then this is just all Spotify matching it and giving you organic plays to the world, and Spotify does have that kind of power, and then you'll get looked up on the other platforms as people net promote you to their friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just none of that has real integrity. And when you do something like, say what you will about Krizz Kaliko on this particular project that we're listening to, I feel like every song is blessed with a high level of integrity, and it's just interesting, right? Like, I feel like being able to talk about these subjects in new ways and then get kind of corny with the resurrecting hip-hop part, but we do it. Sorry, it's not that corny, actually. It was started a little corny with that one line, because I don't know that Krizz Kaliko dropped that level of dopeness here, but what he did bring up in terms of concept of the struggle of trying to do it and maybe pop and maybe go down a legendary goat over doing the right thing versus not doing that and doing anything else is a struggle I relate to daily. So corny as it may be and cliche as it may be,
Okay.
it's very honest and very relatable, and I think that's really cool. And then I like the hook too. What you're looking for is amazing, but I can't keep you waiting. If I go away, what I'm trying to say is I can't be the only one. This whole world's participating in the life's the game we play, and if I go away, I wasn't meant to stay, and I can't be the only one. And I suppose there's a real truth in the sense that you can keep pushing this as long as you can keep pushing this. Like, there are patches of my life where I wake up and I'm like, am I really going to do this forever with these numbers? And it's always the with these numbers part, right? Like, I know what it is. I'm not dumb. I work in digital marketing. I actually know the difference between good and bad web performance, and I know what my numbers really mean. So, on the one hand, they're very encouraging and dope. On the other hand, they're garbage. So I have to sit there and go, is this worth it? And then you find your benefits and your motivations and everything, and you get back at it. But one of the things that I do think actually helps me get through it all is knowing that everyone else I know that's in this game feels the same way, because the truth is
That's
you
true.
can't be the only one. So I really, really, really hope that answered your question, Mr. Jeremy Jones. I mean, from my end, I gave the song, though, a 4.35 because sonically the first part's kind of less fun.
Yeah.
And then it turns into this dope-ass experience. That's why I didn't get the 2.5. It got the 3.5, the slightly better version. And I kind of cut you off and stole the show.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, I think I like Anyways, I mean, I got like the kind of the second half of the story, but I don't think I caught the first part. But anyways, I like this one. About like getting paid, about making money, but also kind of dealing with like the consequences of the life that comes with that. So, he's not the only one, and he has to be aware of that. And I think like so must his fans, like in a sense as well. I think so. Anyways, and I really liked the beat on this one. I thought it was like a really hard hitting, especially like the second half, not like the first, not so much the first half, but it was fine. I liked it. It wasn't bad. So I give it a 4.4 on 5.
All right, the next one, I don't know, it got me again in the relatability. Let's talk about how these motherfuckers out there created a monster. You know what's cool about living in Montreal? You can turn that west side upside down and it's an M. So that's Montreal. What's up? Okay. I mean, I'm certain Bonnie's got stuff to say, but I don't know. This one really like hit me in ways that, again, were like super relatable. If there was a word I would use to describe myself that a lot of people might not recognize in corporate America and other such middle class environments, it is jaded. Like, just jaded. Like, a lot of things in life drive me bonkers inside, and a lot of my past is full of moments where it led me to feeling like, I mean, people did not like me for a long time. Some of those reasons were justified, but like some of them, especially in like high school, were probably not, when we think about life rationally in our 30s. So like, are you surprised to see me? Yeah, you left me for dead, but I made it instead, and you thought I'd never make it, feeling like the world stripped me naked, not who I used to be. Now they scream for me and you created a monster. And I suppose it's that like feeling where now that my life appears to be interesting, and well, I gave a whole bunch of shit talk on my numbers just before. The fact is, not anyone I know really, well, there are people I know, but like in my day job, kind of like these people apparently don't have any numbers of their personal selves. So all of a sudden, you're interesting and different, and you're commodified. And in a sense, it's like I went from I've worked in the same company for like 10 years, so in some cases, like the same group, general peoples, not like individuals, but like I guess the same environment-y kind of shit. Mm-hmm. I watch people go from treating me like a one way into this other situation where like so many people like me, and I just don't feel, I feel like a monster by comparison. Like, fuck out here, like no patience or time for it. Then who am I to you? Who are you to me? Life ain't so long. Guess I made this song for you. You did it. You created a monster. But just the idea of questioning it, like, I often feel commodified. I often wonder, like, what people's intentions are with me. Like, the way they look at me, it's like they respect me per se, or they admire some shit I do, or they're afraid that I'm going to talk a bunch or be a certain way. But, like, I don't know. It's like, it just doesn't feel human in a lot of ways, just because of the life I'm at now, and because of it, because I feel like a beautiful monster, we'll call it, and the way I portray myself is harsh, in a different way, whatever. But then he goes, guess I get picked last in gym class again to go to fat kid, we can kick gas on him. I'm like, damn, that's high school. That's some real shit. I mean, I was the fat kid who literally got picked last in gym class. Like, there's only one person who gets picked last in gym class in every class, okay? So that's like a 1 in like 20, 30, 40 odds or whatever, okay? And like for your school and shit, I would have been picked last probably for like 3 or 4 grades worth of age, okay? Kids younger than me and smaller than me probably would have been picked before me. High school sucked ass. So like, just the idea of getting like beat down. Now granted, I don't know vitiligo. I can't even say that. And so I didn't necessarily have that, but, and I'm not even trying to like compare it, I was a white kid at a black high school, and it was like 2000 to 2005, and I got bullied in some cases just because I was like white. So again, not trying to say it's comparable. It is, however, something out of my control. And it was such a weird, like I don't think I'd have the empathy for this channel that I have today without having gone through an experience like that. And I'm not trying to like talk shit about it or make comparisons that aren't valid, because of how when I was younger I did, and a lot of smart and wise people taught me a lot of nuance. But it just, when I hear words like this, you know, I think before I come to school like it's Columbine minus the trench coat, slit throat them foe. If you do check my Holden Stephan Roy YouTube channel, and I actually forgot about this track when I was re-uploading shit to Spotify, I actually have a song where I fucking reference that kind of stuff. Like, it's literally about getting bullied and wanting to shoot up your school. So there goes monetization on this shit. But like, for real, like, this is really relatable, you know. And then I like how like he addresses how people like told him to deal with the situation, and just I like how he brings this level of stuff up, because man, like, maybe it's just whatever, but watching the geeky fucking loser kids who everybody thinks that, like, there was one time in class where like the teacher was like, why do you even make fun of him? And the guy's answer was, I don't know, it's Holden. Like, that's just the appropriate shit. Now, I guess kids are mean and stuff, but like, literally there will only ever be one person that hits that level in your school, okay? I was that person. And those motherfuckers, plus a lot of other motherfuckers in some regards, created a monster in me. Now, maybe you guys see what you see today because these monsters learn how to behave, but that doesn't mean they're just not a monster deep down inside, you know what I'm saying? So overall, I thought it was a pretty powerful track. I like his personal takes on things. I think it's really powerful and really beneficial to especially people who have to cope with anything, to just see other people talking about this kind of stuff. Like, I just hope this becomes more prominent in music. As if everyone's fucking anxious and depressed, why is instead of all the fucking drug doing music, let's talk about the healthier ways of coping with the situations before another 30 fucking rapper kids die of fucking codeine abuse. That's just my 2 cents on that. 4.5 on 5.
Yeah, so like you were saying, this one is about him being bullied at school and through school for looking different because of his vitiligo, and because he was, you know, a chubby kid. You know, so people made fun of it, fun of those things, you know, but because of that, it made him work harder and want to be more successful. And so he's almost in a way like giving them a nod, or like, you know, thanking those who judged him and treated him like shit basically all throughout school, because he, you know, he wouldn't be where he is if it weren't for all those assholes back in the day. So, you know, his family loved and, you know, continues to love him and support him, and, you know, would remind him that he, you know, God made him this way on purpose. Like, you know, you're gonna be fine. Like, this is like kind of like your superpower, kind of, you know, it's like that sort of feeling. And, you know, which is, you know, a very positive way of looking at differences. And I think that that's like a very good way of looking at things. And, you know, and because of like all of this, like, you know, they've created a monster, they've created this like person who's like crazy, and, you know, he's him, and he's strange, but honestly, it's quite a lovely song while being, you know, pretty like hard hitting, you know, and he's basically saying like he's a nobody to all of those, but now, you know, he's here and he's a somebody to all of us, you know, to everybody that knows him and is like a fan of his and likes him. So I think this is a good overcoming, sort of triumphant sort of a song, like, you know, so it's kind of like a good, you know, good for him, like, you know, that he did, you know, he was able to overcome all of this, and, you know, he used those negative experiences into something positive. So I think that that's great. So I give this a 4.6 on 5.
So after you're feeling like the monster is unlocked, I guess the truth is you have to deal with that. So hello, walls.
Yep. So this one is about him having some like mental health issues and kind of like dealing with all of that while being immersed into this like music life and being, you know, famous and, you know, kind of making it and, you know, having money and having to deal with like all of the things that, you know, come with that, with making it, but while still dealing with the same sort of struggles that maybe you haven't fully addressed, and or you weren't able to fully like take a hold of. There are things that you just can't help, but you can just work through them. So he's talking to himself, and he's talking to the walls. He's feeling alone, and this one definitely feels more emotional, like you're there with him, sort of like watching, but like you're not really with him, like he's alone essentially. And he definitely feels very honest with us as well, and obviously because he's alone, I assume that he's probably feeling a little bit lonely, and he talks about being depressed basically, and kind of dealing with that and that sort of struggle, and how he does get tempted by suicide, and maybe he gets tempted to take maybe more medication than is required for him. So I think that he obviously is on medication for whatever issues that he's dealing with. So that's fine. And we've got Tech 9 again on this one, who's good, but I definitely, I don't know, personally, like I just wanted to hear more about Krizz and like his story and all of that on this one, so I was a little less interested in Tech. So it's a very honest and very powerful song, and it's obviously like better when you're in that kind of like depressive or suicidal kind of mood, is to use that to your benefit almost. If you have to go through that, then use that in your art, create something in that time to try to distract yourself, and as a way to like just get it all out, because that's what you need to do, right? So and he did that, and he made this beautiful song out of it. So I think that he did something really useful with his like health issues, mental health issues. So I give this a 4.35 on 5.
But I also feel like it's a commentary again on just the isolation of what it's like to deal with things. So yeah. I think we're starting to realize statistically that more people out there are dealing with things than anyone really wants to admit, because it's not cool to talk about it, because there's a lot of weight in dealing with it. And there's a lot of people who, if, let's say I'm right about that, would be required to adapt how they live. And getting people to adapt how they live, complicated shit. So instead, many of us are kind of forced to feel a lot of ways, and then end up just kind of like screaming out. And especially if you do something like write an album and nobody listens to it, and then you're like, fuck, I even created the art project, but still, like, if people don't hear it, it's just doesn't matter. Like, that's yelling, in my opinion. And it's not a fake story. I did that, and maybe I'm just a shit music promoter, but like, man, it felt like at least my colleagues and stuff, those fair weather friend types, and everybody, not everybody, there are people who support. I don't forget the people who support, but nearly everybody, all the people who say they were, you will look at the numbers after and whatever. You hear the way people treat you and talk to you, and you're like, man, if you just like listen to me, like for real, like, come on, I got that on wax. Clearly not lying. Well, I might be lying, but at least I'm fucking consistent. So I don't know. I feel like he again has that slower, singier side. Krizz Kaliko's first verse is pretty like, I feel like I'm talking. If you'll take the time to listen to me, I won't waste your time. But then that like self-deprecating, never mind, I'm lying, and then whatever, you're not going to care anyway. So hello walls, hello ceiling, no one's home. And it's just really nice. It's simple. When he's high, he still feels low. And it's again stuff that I can like relate to in concept. They're just trying to like get through the day, and then no one answers when I scream hello walls, and I keep feeling invisible. Just like, and Tech 9, if there was a criticism, is that like when Tech 9 shows up, it feels a little invasive on Krizz Kaliko's little personal track here, but he also takes it to a new level, right? Like, he's all like, Laying in this bed, I fear me filling my brain with some leads right here. I think if I do this, my head I clear, or maybe I should overdose on these meds right here. And then in the video, he's got like a fucking bottle of pills and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, that escalated a little bit. And you know what? I'm not hating on it because I actually gave this track a 5. I actually think the honesty that Tech brings in here is really nice. And I bet he does have these thoughts. And it is almost like what happens after you end up talking to the walls and feel like no one's listening. I just feel like he took it to like a new level with it, you know? And I feel like it would have been kind of like how you felt. It would have been more meaningful if Krizz had done it. But be that as it may, at least he sticks on theme. He stays slow with it, which is something we don't get a lot of from Tech, at least in terms of the features on this project. And I guess it also does a good job of showcasing Tech's versatility for somebody like you who's never heard him before.
Yeah.
But then he goes, every time I get ahead, a wall hits me, fall quick, do y'all history. When it came to my artistry, it was all iffy. The laws just be this what we call shifty, tall chips to fix me, balls. Anyway, I'm like, it's pretty good. But he's basically just kind of expressing the complication of how hard it's been to be a musician pursuing all this stuff to the point where, you know, bet this blade will help me see my veins because the walls are caving in and the ceiling's getting closer to me. Everybody's unhappy with me and taking away all dough's a doozy. I feel so helpless and nervous that I will go ill, you know? And then he kind of does his caribou coffee, which I assume is going to be rum and coffee and whatnot. Anyway, so he's feeling low. And then it goes into the chorus, and then I think the beat changes again, and it kind of gets a little more upbeat. And then Krizz Kaliko's like, my life looks like a party that never ends. I can't tell you what's business and what's friends. I think they pretend to like me, and I think I'm slightly get thrown off my look now. Why the phone off the hook now, huh? It's getting harder to make it through the weekend. And he kind of then progresses back into the same general theme of him turning to the walls. But I like what he's kind of describing, because the truth is you can go through so much of life where you connect with these acquaintances, and it's hard to trust acquaintances, man, and they're everywhere and you're stuck with them, but it's hard to trust them. And then you really don't know what the difference between business and friends is anymore, because when you're in your 30s especially, you don't have friends unless it's related to business, is what I've come to see, especially if you're on this kind of a grind. If you're on this kind of a grind, you don't have time for friends unless they're related for your business. And when I say you don't have time, I don't mean that like average person version. I mean, like, if you got to clock 40 hours at work plus 10 hours of travel plus 30, 40 hours of other side projects, plus you have a girlfriend, plus this, like, you don't have time to go have social lives that can't integrate into your projects. So I kind of appreciate where he's coming from this perspective. I thought it was beautiful. It's a 5 on 5.
All right.
Well, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. I think that's copyright infringement. Bullshit never ends. Parody. I think it's cool that he does the I ain't a killer but don't push me line, because that's from Dysfunctional, and I really like Dysfunctional, and it's one of the first Tech 9 songs I ever heard, and I really like that track. This one brings in some friends, and by some friends I mean the homeboys Twiztid, who have, as I pointed out in part 1, some seriously good, I really like them is what I'm trying to say. How do you feel about this track?
So this one sounds more like creepy and eerie, again right away, like just off of like the sound of it. He talks about that he's Christian and that he tries to be, you know, a good Christian, you know, and he's from Missouri, so that's like the Bible Belt, so no surprise. You know, he talks, you know, like he said, he tries to be good, but don't push his buttons because he can be evil and he can be a killer. You know, so he's kind of like a bad but a good person. And this one feels a little bit more Killer Mike esque, you know, sort of like vibe, because of like, I don't know, it just kind of, I wonder if he was influenced by him. But yeah, that's just sort of like the feeling that I kind of get. I find especially like on like the second verse, I think it is. If you piss him off, he's only going to make something that's more hardcore, and that, you know, his raps are going to destroy other rappers. You know, but he's just like you know, in real life, he's just like a nice guy, and he's not really a murderer, and like, you know, all of this is just like, you know, fiction. You know, essentially it's fiction in, you know, a written form. So he's like, I'm not gonna kill anybody. This is just, you know, what it is. You know, I go to church, I'm a good person. So it's just like his like persona, and I get that. You know, I get that, you know, artists have often like their stage persona, and then like their real life is a little bit different from that. So I mean, that's fine. I don't know. I think it has a nice flow. I like Twiztid. He just makes me think of Lonely.
There are two people in Twiztid, Bonnie.
Okay. Well.
There is Jamie Madrox and Monoxide. So Monoxide is the first member of Twiztid who starts the "Y'all think I'm bullshitting" verse.
They just sound like Lonely Island to me. And that's why I like them. That's all. That's all I have to say. Anyways, so
well,
I think this
is something about Twiztid.
That was it. So I think that this is, you know, how probably lots of rappers and artists feel. You know, they're perceived differently because of the art that they make. But that isn't always reflective 100% of who they actually are in real life. You know, most people are just normal people in normal life. And, you know, everybody just goes and buys toilet paper and does that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're all just trying to be out here and be cool. So that's what it is. So, you know, he's just saying, like, I can't be, like, hardcore all the time. Like, it's, you know, that's ridiculous. So for him, it's sort of more... He's more like a studio rapper, I guess. It's like the original...
Well, I mean,
like, he's not like hood or gangster or anything like that.
Far with
but
it, right?
No, I'm like, I don't mean.
But it's
to, like,
because there's a lot of like lyrics that they'll drop where they sound crazy or they're gonna bust off.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not that's not gangster. That's like more in the land of horrorcore, right? So
right.
It's like more of that. But then, literally,
I guess it's more like how like Eminem did, you know, like all these like killing songs, but like, you know, in reality, he was just like a normal guy at home with his kids.
That's not what a studio gangster is. Studio gangster.
I know
is
what a studio
more
gangster is, but like I don't.
A guy pretending to be a gangster whose name it was more like Clarence and went to middle school and had never held a gun.
All right.
Whereas Krizz Kaliko is saying, look, my life's a little legitimate. Like, the truth is...
Yeah, I think that's kind of the opposite.
No, a studio gangster isn't legitimate. So the second he can act legitimate, you know, he's saying, like, look, I come from a place where if you push me, I'll have to defend myself. In my environment, things have happened, per se. I'm not really, though, this crazy dude that's going to pop off. And, like... I've listened to other stuff they've done. I mean, it's kind of like, I'm a psycho, I'm gonna go nuts and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then you can only imagine at the inception of the blogging era, like the heyday when 2009, 10, you know, was picking up. They're all doing tracks like this. People are just gonna look at them, they have face paint on. It's basically like all the shit Marilyn Manson got for like nothing. It's all the shit everybody ever got. All the shit Eminem got. It's not about studio. This is more like people hearing them, and Twiztid's another good example because they're connected to ICP, so you can only imagine the bullshit ICP got. Because when you go listen to Great Milenko, you're like, wow, it's not my favorite, but there's deep points to all these songs. When the media heard it, they're like, fucking psycho clowns, fucking destroying our youth with terrible messages. And so, I mean, the title I thought was interesting because it's like, I think people kind of want them to actually be these characters. So when you listen to those little interludes and he's like, people are kind of questioning them like legitimately, like, so wait, do you love Satan because you're like this or whatever? It's been like, whoa, hold up. And then he's almost like answering the interview questions in advance, saying like, this is fucking kind of weird, you know, like, I'm a regular guy. This is us on stage playing roles like everybody's ever done. But then doubling it down, like, I'm hardcore because from the good wrapping up in the hood and you're getting far more. Never been a blood, but would if you want to start war. I got some killers on my payroll. I keep them at bay because I'm an angel. Let me explain. I make my music to travel. And so it's just kind of like showing that he is doing a certain life. He's still got like a foot in the door, but what I say baffles you, can't help you out. Think I can do better, person, and help me out. My wits is what I have, and me make hits, but I'll never be selling out. And then, flowing on to that real punchline, Cali baby, carry my weight, make no mistakes, you're late. I'm the protege of the great Aaron D. Yates. I don't know that many rappers' government names that get said as much as Tech Nine's. Nine! Killing beats and bars so it can beat in people's cars. I'm freaking if they cease applause. If you bleeding, I'm the cause. And so even that line there, it's like, if you're bleeding, I'm the cause because I killed you because I'm a dope MC. But like when you say those words to people, they might, and they don't really understand at all the culture, like 2017 behind that suit. I think on our Big L review, you actually asked if he killed 33 people. Don't, because they killed 33, don't make it 34. And you're like, did he murder 33 people? No, because he bodied rappers. And now, that makes total sense. But like,
oh, young and naive.
So like we can just look at that contrast on this very channel. Anyway, then
I don't think he would not be in jail if he. I mean, I think he would be in jail if he killed 33 people.
Anyway, I don't know how to answer that. I can't think of it. Anyway, then Monoxide shows up. Y'all think I'm bullshitting. Everybody want to get up under my skin. Well, I'm through with him. Got to find another way to get the anger out, but change a rock and I'm losing him. So that's an interesting point because he sounds so crazy with it. That's what gets him all the fans. That's a problem. Changes it up. The fans don't give a shit anymore. And it's just kind of a weird circle, To want to be the same thing again and again to maintain fame. Rather be different to make a name with a lame. But all you want to do is take it away. Hate when I say that you're stuck in a game with a bunch of shameless worms that are nameless. Classic taking shots at the mainstream. Kind of pointing out the sellouts versus him being legitimate with it. Still pretty fire over the beat, still enjoyable. I really like Twiztid's voices though. I think collectively there's the way they bounce off each other is truly awesome. Mr. Jamie comes through. I'm a little bit strange, a little bit smart, always come hard and I speak from the heart. And I really like that because I think that sums up a lot of us weirdo outcast types on the side. And so that's dope. Always heartfelt with the words that I kick because I spit it with a passion. They call it sick. And when they call it sick, do I need medicine to keep me on track and away from the edge? And I like how he flips that because he writes all this crazy shit and they love it. And then that's almost problematic. So maybe we should deal with it.
Yep.
Because if I lose control, I'm going on a killing binge and I won't stop killing till everybody dead. Again, that's the kind of stuff I mean. Like, I don't hear that and go, oh Jamie Madrox is a fucking murderer. I'm like, nah, he's expressing himself through art. Nobody thinks he's a gangster for that line, I hope. I'm insane. I'm talking to my brain, but it does not reciprocate. But it is only concerned with fame. I want to kill them all away, everybody that stands in my way. That frustration of wanting to murder motherfuckers that prevent you from success is something that literally everybody that has watched Becky get the promotion over me has gone through. So in that case, everybody's fucking crazy. I like this track. I thought it was dope. It was like long, but like you just got rewarded with Twiztid at the end, so it turns out to be really cool. Another well-made track, 4.5 on 5. 7 is a genius on these beats.
Yep. I give this a 4.35.
All right, well, moving along, the next track is called Unstable. What's really cool between Can't Be the Only One and like this track, I guess, is just how many they had a few friends come through and on the album and kind of express how they also feel kind of negative. And the fact that so many people express these feelings collectively, I don't think, I guess people who don't get it don't understand how powerful it is for those of us that maybe need outlets in our life to cope with the mundane normality of life. This track is very driven with this like electronic pumping kind of beat, and I kind of hope that the hard-hitting side of the electronic beats comes back instead of this crappy soft-ass fucking garbage that pop music's full of, the like Calvin Harris's and whatnot. Nah, this kind of like hard metal infused almost electronic sounds where like you can mosh to it at the rave. That's fire to me. I don't know, I'm not good with those genres, but like I kind of like how this song is more like we've expressed maybe the frustration and pushing outwardness of these emotions, and this is more internalizing it, you know? Seems like I would have fixed it, but I've been gone for way too long. Put a band-aid on it to fix it, but I've been barely hanging on. If this is hell, then I need help. So dark, it's like I've never seen the sun. It's like I'm dreaming, but it feels so real, and I can't be the only one. And I like how he references that again, because it's instead of pointing it out like on the last track, you know, you can't be the only one or whatever. I can't be the only one in that regard. He's kind of bringing in now to his mental stability how he's gone through efforts, he's tried healthy things, he's listened to people, he's gone through it, but at the end of the day it's still broken. He just calls out them like unstable. Give me a reason, because I can't stop and thinking about leaving, and etc. And I like how he culminates on that I need God at the end of chorus, because it's that I think that humility of recognizing that some greater power is out there and can guide you. I don't care if you think it's true or not. That philosophical principle helps a lot of people. So I like that, because I think without the religion attached, strip it away, just the raw idea, and it's powerful and universal in a sense. When he's back on my cuckoo medicine, it's better than feeling that I can never be in heaven if it never end. Either that or added soon to a padded room. Wish I could come back up in the room if there's any room. So it's probably related to being bipolar and, you know, just taking pills and meds. And I'm very grateful that I've never reached a point in life where that's a thing I've had to deal with. But man, it's like just facing that choice of take these pills or end up in a fucking room is crazy like that. I don't know. I like how he goes, I done been around a Suwu group, brains or noodle soup, he ain't got me jumping through hoops, because that's a clever way of saying bloods while like kind of playing through the whole lines and making it rhyme. And overall, it hits with like power, you know. The chorus, I just feel like you can empathize with it so greatly. The third verse is kind of like pick myself up, you know, make it up out of it, battle it, take a hit, gotta get out before it gets malignant. I'm digging my own grave and being my own slave. I figure it's gonna take a miracle one day to get it up off me. It's killing me softly. But while he's kind of breaking down the pain and the way it's kind of destroying him, I feel like he has like this faith, right? Because can't be feeling is tortured, it's fully a scorcher. Cali baby may be crazy since the day that he was born, but if you raise me in 3 days, maybe he can get me through the storm. And he kind of ends with this solace of turning it over to God and recognizing that within himself he's incapable of dealing with this stuff. And I mean, that's how the road to recovery starts. That's how like a lot of things happen. And I don't know, there's a lot of weird papers or ideas I've seen recently about what happens to cultures that piss away God and how they turn to things like corporate executives and celebrities to worship instead. So evidently there's a psychological need for humanity to crave some kind of higher power, and I just think it's brave and bold of Krizz Kaliko to write this shit. And this one's another 4.75 because I really like this, especially with the cool EDM beat.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this one started off really interesting. And he's basically saying, like, he doesn't really feel like himself anymore. He feels lost. And this is sort of, you know, we're culminating on sort of like the honest, sort of depressive, or going through depression part of the album. He feels very unstable, like the title says. This one has a unique sort of a beat, not something common I would find in like rap music too much. I mean, I haven't really heard it, so I thought that was kind of interesting with like I don't really know what to call that kind of music.
Yeah, I've heard it with stuff like Insane Clown Posse and other on the outside kind of rap groups.
Okay. And basically, you know, he mentions the fact that he uses music to make, you know, or in making, he uses his music making as part of a therapy and to get out all of his thoughts and his feelings that are driving him to feel unstable. So, you know, which is good. So it's better out than in. And like, you know, he's able to, you know, work through things probably by doing that. And I think it's something really, really positive that you can do. Writing always helps. So I give this a 4.1 on 5. I thought it was cool, but definitely not one that I would go back to. But I appreciate like why and how he made this one. So I get that. It's just not something that I would go back to.
Fair enough. The next track is called Dream of a King, and guess what? It's got some friends.
Oh, yes.
What's truly interesting is that all Krizz Kaliko does on this is the hook, and it is a gorgeous hook where he just sings, "What are we fighting for, and why do we sell war? All my country tears me bleak, screams our needs from all our needs, and those who scream world peace, it seems that dream, the dream of a king." I'm like, that's hella political, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that he's bringing that up in an Obama era, because I feel like people like to undersell how much of a war criminal Obama really is, because he's just as evil as the rest of them. He killed more people than Bush with the bombs, because the bombs got easier to shoot with less people through the robots. So it was so much easier to pull the trigger and not have American troops involved, so we got less press coverage of in-person reporters, and people don't care that because he was dapper as fuck. Hashtag whatever. So like I like how they like that's the core of it. And then it features Mayday, Crystal Watson, and Prozak.
Yeah.
Prozak starts us off. Why don't you talk before I do it all?
I mean, this one kind of covers like a lot of like negative sort of topics. You know, he's just trying to address all of the bad things that are unfortunately part of life. But we are all humans, and we all go through similar issues, and we all have troubles, and we, you know, none of us are perfect, and you know, we're all working through something, and it just seems crazy that you know, he's basically thinks that it's crazy that we're at war with each other, you know, because there's issues and shit that happens in every country, and you know, every type of people, and he specifically mentions, I think, the USA and the UK and South Africa, I believe, because he talks about Cape Town. And the issues of like racism and like war, and just like all of that, and at the same time, well, kind of maybe touching back.
I was pretty sure it was Recognize. So Mayday is a rap group. They have like a band, I think. There's like 6 of them.
Okay.
And both Recognize and the 4th guy, Burns, are of Mayday. They're really I like Recognize. Recognize is my favorite, but Burns is good too. I'm not trying to say Burns isn't good. I'm trying to say Recognize is my favorite.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, he's from Cape Town.
Okay, that explains it. I guess there you go. There you go. And I like the sort of like feature of like the Native American like drum that's featured again. Like, and this is not like, I think it was featured on another song as well. And I love that sound. So it's like, for me, I think it's fantastic, and I think that he's kind of incorporating like that into like not really mainstream but like more popular music, and so I think that that's like important. And I liked how it's quite a mixed song with like all these different types of people. I think that it was really cool. I really like Crystal on this song. I think she was really cool.
She did like a gorgeous little spoken word bit.
Yeah. You know, and, you know, they also talk about issues of like police brutality and like the unfortunate downside to like, you know, experiencing that sort of life is often depression, and, you know, drugs seem to help that, unfortunately, you know, a lot of the time, and then it just kind of it can escalate to something even more. So, you know, but he doesn't really know what else to do. Like, that's kind of what he's saying. He's like, it helps, you know, writing helps, doing drugs helps, but he doesn't really know what else to do because, that's it, you know, like that's kind of his struggle, and not everything, not everybody has the answer. You know, he's kind of like dealing with that, and not everybody, you know, not everything is like the way we expect things to be. So that's kind of like what he's talking about, just general frustrations of humanity, I guess, while at the same time being specific to him. So I thought this was really interesting. I give this a 4.25 on 5.
I like how after going through the deep personal journey, they're like, let's throw on the social politics track
Yeah.
and cover that. But we'll get a bunch of guys who are a little more experts on the subject than I am. And that's the part I appreciated is that, like, I don't know if Krizz Kaliko can or can't write a good social politics track. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it
But I think
feels
he brought everybody together and he made this song.
But these
and I think
people
it was
who like I feel like they're people who are really good at doing this, came through and brought in that level of intelligence. I mean, you look at Prozak right off the jump, and he might have some of the best wordplay we've seen on the album so far. And I love Tech Nine's flow. I don't think he's my favorite with wordplay because he chooses flow over writing every time by his own admission. Whereas Prozak, yeah, and it's all about the capital games, Venom. So that's cool. We're talking about cash rules everything and how it's venomous. Rolling through your veins. Okay, because venom runs through your veins. Now the venom means drugs. The capital games is the drug game. Snakes bite your skin and put venom through your veins and shit. And it's like, oh yeah, where's this been a whole album? Shackles and chains send him off to battle like happy till they grave. Cemetery gates wait for the. I love it when rappers do that shit where they cut the word in half to make the flow fucking work and keep the word going. Wait for the one sop man, the women in living in sin, kill the children, prescribe pollution to pot the pills in. I mean, it goes on like that for the rest of the verse, and it's like, wow, from a lyrical perspective, and he paints the picture of just the detriment of the game and the overall impact of, I guess, the hood environment, which is kind of he's painting, I feel like, the drug game and the consequences of it. And then he flows through to, I'm like the king that wrote it in his letter, never ever sever the love for one another, be stubborn enough to hate one another. Remember that we are brothers and sisters, came from the same mother. So it's like, as much as he has these observations, he's leaving it with that message, like you pointed out, like we have to come together and whatnot. Then Recognize kind of pointed out his version of the tale, kind of being a little anecdotal thing about the complexities of being a little biracial, I don't know what the right term is, mixed looking, not light enough, not dark enough, people kind of being racist towards him. Human beings, when my pop said we'd better save, not speeding up to hands on the clock dial. Present day racist is a way better stockpile, get up and get your freedom to love one another. My brothers suffer from the motherfuckers underneath the plot now. Not this here ain't limited, 2 cheers for a Million Man Initiative. So I believe the Million Man March is related to racism and is something that goes down in the States. So just his verse focusing on his anecdotal experiences with racism, but just kind of showing how there's a way to get past it, and that's really cool, you know. And then Crystal's spoken word bit just really focuses on, I guess, the loss of love and how we kind of boiled everything down to just sex without meaning and anything like that. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
And then I like how Burns just starts with even kings fall. Sunset on my back, bringing in the dark. I ain't even keeled, trying to get a little balance for the real, because I've been lost playing ground politics for the kids. That's how it is. Innocence lost to a Mossberg's kiss. So just kind of pointing it out, like, you know, it's hard to kind of be proper when you're in that kind of environment where a shotgun is going to fucking kill somebody, and whether it's you pulling the trigger or somebody you know dying, it's just kind of hard to cope in that environment. And I feel like there's a level of empathy for when you end up in the wrong path. What it was, plus it ain't getting better for us. Life's rushing and not from this high when the cops be by. Someone told me about a dream that my son is alive, so I told him to run it back, but he didn't reply. So we all wide awake, dying, and close our eyes, and the world's getting smaller. Yes, it is. There's one ray of light breaking the darkness. Shame to spark this, but I gotta medicate. Pitfalls eluding my faith. And it's like, ultimately, his only hope is the light that comes from the lighter lighting up the joint, as opposed to, like, it actually being almost real. It's like, it's such a bleak and terrible situation, and things are only escalating and getting worse, that's the source of hope for the future, is to get stoned. And I mean, y'all can feel how you feel about weed, but you can smoke pot every day and get by. So I can completely understand where you're coming from on that. I like this one again, and I gave it a 4.5. And I thought it was cool to get some label mates like that on it. And we're on. Did you give your grade?
Yep.
And we're almost done with the tracks featuring label mates. It's also like the last track on the album. So I know I'm getting a little tired here. It's getting harder to stay alive. I really like Big Scoob's flow. He's got a really cool voice with it. I mean, this track kind of culminates at the end of this album. So we've gone through the experiences, which is mostly his story of nobody caring, and then the emotional trauma with that, and then how people treated him, and etc., etc. And then we even bring in a little bit of the world, all to end at I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna keep grinding, you know. Yeah, I just hope that I'm alive for it. Sacrifice everything up under the sky for it. Cross my heart to only die for it. Feel like it's coming. I just hope I'm alive for it. And I guess even like at the end of this, we're still left with this. It isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And it's coming, but he knows it's coming. And even if he has to die to achieve the goal, like it's just, he's so committed to it. And I really respect it. It's like he doubled down at the end and said, fuck it, I'm going to keep grinding.
Yeah.
And then him and Tech9 are going around and they're pushing it and they're, I guess, doing drugs and whatnot, eating in gas stations, fast foods. That's how it goes. Months got it surpassing every hood, sending a casket close. And I guess he's literally pointing at the unhealthy things that are associated with the lifestyle they live. If you're on the road all the time, you're in airports, you're probably eating more McDonald's than fucking going to Whole Foods and shit, you know? And then I like how he's just kind of reflecting and being like, you know, kind of happy that he's able to stay alive and push it. Then Big Scoob does his verse, and it's all right. It's the same kind of deal to me, but with a cooler flow. I really like his flow on this, just the way he kind of loops it in the middle, kind of leaves it loose there, and I really think it's cool. I don't know that there's anything really more being said here. I do think he's a little more focused on the game. Like, he has his chance to point out how dope he is, so he is, whereas Krizz feels more like this is hard and it's killing me, whereas Big Scoob's like, I'm real, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm off on that, but how's it supposed to be? It's odd to me. I'm still on it. Ain't no frontin', no stuntin', man. I came from nothing. A blog person, everything I'm worth came from hustling. The rap shit full of tricks, ain't a ruse in it. A flip a switch back to itch. I can't lose with it. I dumped that powwow, told them to get towels on my food with it. And I guess he's just kind of reflecting. Represents that side of things. Being a dude who came from one life, he's in the news sites. He sees the bloggers' reactions to them. If they're not feeling what he's feeling, fuck them, whatever. He's gonna just keep grinding. And I kind of, again, like the bleakness in how he ends his verse with it. I'm so rattled in the saddle, it's a bumpy ride. It wouldn't matter if I died or stayed alive. It's a little bleak, but it's realistic, where these are people who have not achieved it but are still pushing it every day, and the consequences of perhaps their life is real. Like, maybe it's the stress, maybe it's the unhealthy diet, maybe it's the consequences of your past, but it's almost like if you're just chasing it all the time, you're never, it's a different world, and I kind of like that. And then just the outro where it's his family members just kind of saying God bless him, protect him. I thought that was a fitting and amazing and incredible way to end this album, and I gave it another 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it starts off with like a sort of like a prayer at the beginning, and basically, you know, he hopes that he lives to see his successes, you know, and I suppose this is, you know, again, he's touching on his issues with bipolar disorder and depression, and that this is always, you know, like that suicide is and can always be an option for him, especially when he's having his low lows, you know, which is why he's probably back on his pills. Maybe, you know, he couldn't do it without it, and, you know, just talked about, you know, being back on his pills in the last song, and he doesn't want to miss his music success. You know, and we've got Big Scoob, and he started from nothing, and now he's here, basically. And yeah, and at the end, he's got all of his family members, you know, saying prayers for Krizz, you know, and keeping him safe. You know, and I think it's like it ends with like a powerful message from his young son, who is saying a little prayer for him, and which is it's really beautiful. Like it's great. So I think that this is a really powerful reminder for him, like just to have for himself, to have all of these kind of like well wishes and prayers, from all these most important people in his life, who are wishing him well and wishing him health and success, and that he stays positive and all of this stuff. So I mean, I think it's more just to remind him that he needs to keep on living. So maybe it's a message for when he's feeling suicidal, that he can play this song, or somebody can play this song to him, and remind him of all of these people that love him and support him, and pray for him. So I think that that's something that's really important for him to have, and I think it reflects for a lot of people as well. It can have like a similar message, or go make that message for yourself if you do have kind of tendencies where you're going to be quite low, and it's something that is a part of your life. Why not have something that's going to like remind you that people love you? So I think that that's a great thing to have. That's kind of how I took it anyways. So I give this a 4.5 on 5. It's a pretty great therapy session.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the end part where we wrap up. I gave the album a 4.516. Given the fact that it's from 2012, I'm gonna call it a classic. Something that I think that it achieves all the things that a classic album is supposed to have, except for the part where maybe people didn't buy it. That part, but that's so like to a lot of people, that's the most important part. But then they forgot that Nas's Illmatic took a long time to sell records, but it's still a classic. Nah, I mean, it proves versatility, both in Seven and Krizz Kaliko, because I think Seven is as much a star on this album as Krizz is.
Oh yeah.
It shows an insane amount of emotional honesty. It manages to cover girl songs from a perspective that's cool. In fact, the only song I meant songs about girls. The only thing I could live without is the really dated and crap Abu Dhabi. That one, whatever. But I would say outside of that, I'm left with positive feelings for pretty much the rest of the album, and anything else like that I do. Maybe I'm not going to throw on every single jam, but I feel like it hit multiple vibes, and it had a lot of things for people to listen to. And I think Cali Baby is one of the greatest freaking tracks that I've heard this decade. So, I mean, I know it's new in my life, but it's so fucking fun.
Yeah. I'm there. So yeah, I mean, I gave this album a 4.47 on 5, so an 89%. So yeah, I mean, it's a very nice album. I like this one a lot. I think I would say it is a classic. He sort of sounds like Lil Wayne, Busta Rhymes, Killer Mike, all at the same time, and like separately as well. Like it's really interesting the way that he kind of plays it up, and at the same time sounding just like himself. So I think that that's like super cool. I like the aha or whatever stuff that he does, like basically in every single song. It's like his like signature weird little noise that he does, and I think that that's cool. Yeah, I definitely love Cali Baby, and I think this is like a great like introduction into like this artist and to like the whole label, and if they're all kind of like this, it should be a pretty interesting ride to explore the rest of the gang.
That's amazing.
Strange music.
That's fantastic. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. Feel free to leave us a comment telling us what you think.
You can like it.
You could like the video if you did. You can subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prada, Jonathan Barnes, CJ Blackirk, and Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. They support what I do, helped us get a new camera. They can tell us what albums to review, like Ismail Gadamsi did on this very review. So that's fun. And then we can upgrade, and that's fun. Like getting Audio Technica headphones, which I put the box there because I had nowhere else to put it right now. They're really good because I was dealing with bleed of sound, and because these are so much better than my 3-year-old Sony MDRs, now we can record audio without the microphone picking up bleed. Yay!
Yay!
So, yeah, actually, that was just not related to Patreon at all. I just wanted to point out that this is not sponsored. I wish we were sponsored. We need patrons. So I make music myself. You can check that out on Spotify and everything. Holden, Stephan, Roy, The Alternative Grind. Let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you about that if you check it out. And yeah, live long and prosper, everyone.
Or don't. Bye!